If Antony is worth 100 million euros, then in today's current market, I'm probably worth 2.5 million. I'm being serious. Manchester United have secured the signature of Ajax's Brazilian right winger Antony, and they've paid ludicrous amounts for this player, despite him not really showing it on the pitch. Now, of course, he is a brilliant player with some of that excellent Brazilian flair that we all love to see. I just don't think he's 100 million euros brilliant, if you get what I mean. We take a look at his stats over the past couple seasons: 0.41 goals per 90, and then the season before last, 0.46 goals per 90. So he's averaging just under a goal every other game. Now, he is on that right-hand side, so it's more difficult scoring positions, but he is playing in the Eredivisie. It's not a particularly competitive league at times, and he is doing it for the best team in that league. So they're decent stats, but they don't blow my socks off, I'll be honest. However, if we look at Richarlison, who's just earned himself a move to Spurs worth 72 million euros, again, another ridiculous fee for a player of this standard, the stats are relatively comparable. Last season, a really struggling Everton and managed to get 0.36 goals per 90. He struggled the season before last, 0.22, but then before that, 0.38 and 0.44 goals per 90. These are similar stats, but Richarlison is doing it in a much competitive league with a much less competitive team. Why are the price ranges so far apart? Now, the first thing we need to clear up is absolutely no one should be paying 72 million euros for Richarlison. No one, especially not Daniel Levy, who decided to give one of Spurs' greatest ever managers none million euros to spend across 2 windows. But just because Spurs can overspend on Richarlison does not now make it okay that Manchester United can overspend on Antony. One of the reasons that they did end up putting that fee down comes with a lot of reasons, but the main one being Ajax made clear that they did not want to lose their star man this close to the end of the window. It's no doubt that Antony is the star man at Ajax, and losing him this close to the end of the window, but more importantly, replacing him this close to the end of the window, will be near most impossible. And that, piled on top of the fact that United have already taken Lisandro Martinez, their star centre-back, and have taken their manager. Do they know that there are other clubs to take from? It's almost as if the people in United's board have gone, oh, Ajax, that's a hipster club, why don't we take their players? But Manchester United were very persistent on giving the biggest club in the Eredivisie more of their money. Now, the problem that this creates is a very clear power dynamic. One club wants to keep their star man, and the other wants a Brazilian to keep their fans happy. Now, that means that Ajax could have put any number on Antony, and Manchester United probably would have paid it. They should not be paying more than 65 million at a push. But the board at Ajax probably went, Manchester United really want this player. We don't want to let him go. Fuck it, we'll ask for 100 million for him. And they paid it. Does anyone have any financial competence at this club? Yes, he's an exciting player with a bright future ahead of him, and he's probably going to light up Old Trafford against Stoke in the Cup. But someone at Manchester United needs to realise that they're being bent over by other clubs due to how desperate they are in the transfer window. There are definitely cheaper alternatives to Antony that are probably going to give you similar or equal output in the Premier League. But they've paid 100 million euros due to the fact that they panicked, wanted a player, the other team said no, and said, well, pay us 100 million. And they've done it. The sad thing is, if you actually had a plan at the start of the transfer window and all of your stats just happened to point to Antony, then you could have given Ajax a little bit of time to find a replacement. They would have asked for 70 million. You whittled it down to 65, and then everyone's happy. But instead, you're desperate, you're running out of time, and they've made you pay close to double for a player that you apparently need to replace the goals of Ronaldo, who now wants to fuck off to Napoli, apparently. And the thing is, I said if your stats point to Antony, it's a bit weird that your stats all point towards players your manager has already coached before. Have you not got anyone scouting any other leagues? Or has Ten Hag just gone, oh, this is my job as well? Okay. I like the Ajax lot. If we could just get the band back together, that'd be brilliant. And just to clear this up before anyone says anything, you didn't pay 100 million because Ajax need 100 million to replace him. You didn't pay 100 million because you're investing in his future. You paid 100 million because Ajax thought that would scare you away, and you called their bluff. stupidly. We've already seen that playing for Manchester United comes with a ridiculous amount of pressure, especially for young players, and playing for Manchester United under a ridiculous transfer fee comes with even more pressure. So even if he does light up the Champions League, even if he does get top goal scorer and he wins them the Premier League, it's not a bargain. It's not money well spent. It's luck. But who cares, right? It's just Manchester United flexing their muscles, using their financial dominance to get any player they sort of want at the time, and that's it. Well, no, it's hugely significant and creates huge ripples in the world of the financial parts of football. That's not an understatement. Look, like, if a player that's worth 500,000 and a player that's worth 5 million, the gap in quality between those two players is huge. 5 million to 20 million, huge. 20 million to 70 million, steady. The more you pay for a player, the better player you'll get. But then we have any player that has got an inch of talent, an inch of a bright future, any player that can do a Rabona has now got 85 million price tag on them. And the excuse given for these transfer fees is that the club selling the player needs that money to replace the player. Well, that's ridiculous, because that standard of player should not cost that amount of money. And the problem that we're getting is that any club with any amount of talent needs a way of differentiating how good these players are. That's done by transfer fees. And if any decent player is worth 70 million, then genuine world-class players are going to be worth 130, 150. And then when any good player is worth 100, the best players will be 180, 200. And that's why, if I think I'm in this market, I'm worth 2 million at least. I just thought this video was a pretty good time to discuss transfer fees and where I see them going in the future, just continuing to skyrocket, and it becomes increasingly difficult to be able to value players on the market when any good player is worth 50 million. And it seems, well, you know, why are we paying this amount of money for this standard of player? And yeah, and also give digs to Manchester United, because it just seems that a lot of these clubs don't have good strategies in the market and just spend and spend, and it's bad for the economy of football. It's not good at all, because you can't get value in the market, because as soon as you spend 100 million for a decent prospect from the Netherlands, what you're going to pay for a bloke that's just ripped it up in the Serie A. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall